Have you ever looked at a photograph and felt your eyes naturally travel through the scene without really knowing why? You might begin with the subject, then find yourself looking towards the mountains in the distance, or perhaps following a road as it disappears over the horizon. It feels effortless, almost automatic, but it isn't an accident. The photographer has quietly guided your eyes through the image using one of the oldest storytelling techniques in photography, leading lines. The fascinating thing about leading lines is that most people never notice them. They simply experience the result. Our brains are naturally drawn to lines because they help us understand the world around us. Roads tell us where to travel. Rivers guide our attention downstream. Railway tracks disappear into the distance. A fence leads us towards a gate. Even the direction someone is looking can become an invisible line that encourages us to look the same way. Photographers use these natural pathways to take control of the viewer's journey through the image. Instead of allowing the eye to wander randomly, they create a route. They decide where the story begins, where it moves next, and where it finally comes to rest. Imagine standing on a wooden pier stretching into a calm lake at sunrise. If you photograph it from the side, the pier simply becomes another object in the scene. But if you stand at the entrance and point your camera straight down its length, those wooden planks suddenly become powerful leading lines. Your eyes instinctively follow them towards the horizon, where the rising sun becomes the reward at the end of the journey. The same idea applies in portrait photography. A staircase can lead towards a person standing at the top. A line of trees can draw attention towards a bride walking through a forest. Even the folds of a flowing dress or the angle of an arm can subtly direct the viewer towards a face. Leading lines don't always have to be obvious. Some of the strongest ones are almost invisible until you begin looking for them. One of the most common mistakes beginners make is seeing lines only after they've taken the photograph. Experienced photographers train themselves to notice them before they lift the camera. They ask a simple question: what is already pointing towards my subject? If nothing is, they move. Sometimes taking just a few steps changes everything. A path that looked ordinary suddenly leads directly into the frame. A row of lights becomes perfectly aligned. A shadow begins pointing exactly where you want the viewer to look. Leading lines are also incredibly powerful because they create depth. Photography turns a three-dimensional world into a two-dimensional image. Anything that helps recreate that sense of distance makes the photograph feel more immersive. A winding road, a river, a row of vineyard vines, or the edge of a building can all create the illusion that the viewer could step straight into the photograph and walk through it. Not every line should lead towards your subject, though. Some lines can accidentally pull the viewer away from what matters most. A bright fence leading out of the frame, a horizon cutting through someone's head, or a strong shadow pointing towards an empty corner can quietly steal attention without you even noticing. Good composition isn't only about creating strong lines. It's also about removing the lines that distract from your story. Here's a simple exercise I'd like you to try. Go for a walk with your camera and don't photograph people or landscapes first. Instead, spend 15 minutes looking only for lines. Look for roads, bridges, fences, rivers, shadows, railings, buildings, and even rows of parked cars. Once you begin noticing them, choose a subject and see how many different ways you can use those lines to guide the viewer's attention. You'll quickly realize that leading lines exist almost everywhere. The challenge isn't finding them, it's learning to see them. Remember this: a great photograph doesn't simply show the viewer where to look. It quietly takes them on a journey. Leading lines are one of the simplest and most powerful ways to guide that journey without saying a single word. In our next lesson, we'll explore negative space and discover why sometimes the most important part of a photograph isn't the subject at all. It's the empty space surrounding it.